After giving her everything, my stepdaughter chose her absent dad over me. Informs me to keep it on the low because her uninvolved bio dad is showing up at her wedding. So I act as she wishes on her special day. But now, 2 years have passed since the incident. I'm doing legal work on my inheritance and keeping her out of it by donating her $250,000 inheritance to charity, assuming her bio dad will take care of her. Now, she and my wife are making claims that I'm holding money over her head, and they're calling me a resentful hole. My wife, Emily, 50, female, and stepdaughter, Harper, 28, female, are really upset with me because I, 55 male, decided to give away my inheritance to charity instead of leaving it to Harper. They weren't supposed to find out about it, but Emily overheard me speaking to my lawyer, and now I don't know if I'm the bad guy here, so I need some opinions. Emily and I have been together for the past 20 years, and for 17 of those we've been married. Harper's father abruptly walked out on them when she was around 7 years old. After that, he only sent child support but didn't actually bother to build a relationship with his daughter. After I met Emily and Harper, I pretty much raised Harper as my own daughter. Despite that, she decided to ask her biological father to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day 2 years ago. I didn't want to ruin the day for her, so I didn't say anything about it, but it hurt. On top of that, I was the one who covered all the expenses for the wedding. Even then, she asked me to lay low and made a huge deal about her bio dad, who hadn't been there for her for ages but had just started building a relationship with her 3 years before the wedding. I was the one who had actually raised her, but I guess it counted for nothing to her. Anyway, that incident really hurt our relationship, but I never spoke about it because I felt like if I had to demand that she treat me like her father, then it would feel forced and I didn't want that. We have kept in touch, and I've remained civil to her, but we are not close anymore, and I really don't think she's any worse off for it either. Anyway, so that's that. Recently, I decided to draft a will for myself. A business associate of mine recently passed away from cardiac arrest, and that kind of scared me since it was really sudden. That kind of thing could happen to anybody, so I decided to speak to my lawyer about a will. I made the mistake of having that meeting in my home office, which is how Emily ended up overhearing the entire thing. She was suspicious about my lawyer visiting in the first place, so she decided to eavesdrop on our conversation. That in itself was a huge violation of my privacy and trust, but anyway, I'll get to that later. Right now, I just want to talk about the fact that she overheard me telling my lawyer that I wanted to give away my entire inheritance to charity, which had been evaluated at around $250,000 recently, including all my money and assets. I've been running the business that I inherited from my dad when I was in my early 30s, so I would say that I'm moderately successful right now. I'm hoping to grow the business even more and increase my worth in the next couple of years before I retire. Of course, after overhearing that, Emily was not happy about it in the slightest. She waited until the lawyer left and then confronted me about whatever she had heard. I was obviously quite upset that she had eavesdropped on my private conversation, but she got defensive and told me that she was just worried because I was talking to a lawyer all of a sudden without discussing anything with her first, which is valid. Even if I overlook that, I can't overlook the fact that she started arguing with me about my decision. She told me that I was being ridiculous because the money I have made so far should go to my family and not charity. So, I had to tell her that she had no right to tell me who I should leave my money to because it was my hard-earned money, and I was going to do whatever I wanted with it. That fight got pretty nasty, and she ended up sleeping in the guest room that day. The next day, my phone was literally flooded with calls and texts from Harper, telling me that I couldn't do this to her and that I was being horrible. I didn't reply to any of them. I just went on with my day as usual, ignoring whatever they were trying to say to me because the two of them had 2 years to address this with me, but they had chosen not to. They had chosen to sweep it under the carpet and pretend like everything was fine. So, I had done the same even though everything was far from fine ever since the wedding, ever since Harper chose to prioritize her biological father over me, the one who had actually raised her. Anyway, even if I keep that aside, it's still my money. I can leave it to whoever I want to, and if I want to leave it to charity, I think that should be my prerogative. So that's how almost 2 days passed. I didn't speak to either of them and did not respond to any phone calls or messages from them, which is why Harper took it upon herself to show up in person at my house, and Emily let her in. She's not speaking to me, but she is still staying with me right now. I haven't asked her to leave yet because, honestly, I'm not sure if that would be the right thing to do, and we have been together for a really long time. That counts for something, at least for me. Anyway, the two of them confronted me the day before yesterday, and we had a horrible fight, which is why I'm here right now. We said certain things to each other, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right here anymore. Last evening, when Harper showed up, the two of them literally ganged up on me and started screaming at me about what I was doing. They told me that I was being ridiculous and that I owe them this because they are my family, and I couldn't just leave everything to charity. I fought back. I stood my ground, and I reminded them that Emily was a working woman and so was Harper. It was ridiculous for them to be depending on me anyway when they were making money for themselves. Besides, at least I could understand why Emily was upset with me, but Harper's anger did not make sense to me. I told her that she had her husband and her bio dad to take care of her after I'm gone. So she really had no need for my money anyway. When I said that, the two of them kind of figured out what this was all about, and instead of being apologetic about it, they started making me feel even worse for taking that incident to heart. Emily told me that I needed to grow up because I was being immature by holding money over Harper's head. She said that her ex had made the effort to have a relationship with Harper, even if it was just 3 years before the wedding, and that counted for something. Harper was just showing her gratitude to her biological father by having him walk her down the aisle, and it shouldn't have been that big of a deal for me in the first place. At the end of the day, that was her biological father, and she was happy he was there in spite of their strained past relationship. That's why she had been overenthusiastic about it in front of the guests. It was not a competition, and Emily said that I wasn't supposed to take it personally. Then Harper started telling me that if I had a problem with the situation, I should have brought it up back then or at least spoken about it later on. Instead, I chose to bottle up my feelings, and that was completely my fault. She claimed that it was unfair of me to punish her after 2 whole years had already passed since the incident. Besides, her father has been involved in her life since then, so I should be happy for her instead of acting this way. No matter how hard I tried, they just didn't understand my feelings. So I just told them that no matter what they said, I was not going to be changing my will. That's when Harper started screaming at me and called me a resentful hole before storming out of the house. I was kind of shocked because she had been pretty loud, and I just couldn't associate her with the child that I had raised. After Harper left, even Emily didn't speak to me. Right now, I'm doubting myself about everything. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should have communicated with them and told them that I wasn't happy with the fact that Harper had decided to ask her biological father to walk her down the aisle because I was the one who had raised her. Here's the thing. The reason that I did not bring it up back then or even afterwards is because I felt like if I had to ask for it, then it meant they were not willing to do it for me. It's not that I couldn't have told Harper to choose me to walk her down the aisle, but that's the problem. She didn't ask me herself. That meant she didn't want me to do it for her, and she wanted her biological father instead. The fact that she preferred her biological dad, who had just been involved in her life for 3 years, instead of me who had raised her, that's what really hurt. I don't understand why I couldn't get this extremely simple and basic thought through to Emily and Harper. I tried telling them about it while we were fighting, but they just dismissed it, telling me I was way too sensitive and that this was no reason to take away the inheritance from Harper just to punish her for trying to build a better relationship with her biological father. I feel especially terrible about the way Harper screamed at me and cussed at me after the fight. From their behavior, it feels like I deserve this. Rationally, I know that I don't, but I don't know, I just feel horrible about this entire situation. I think things might have been better if I had spoken about this earlier. I just didn't want to ruin her wedding, which is why I kept things to myself. I had always expected her to come to me at some point after the wedding and try to make it up to me, but she never did. Even though Emily doesn't like her ex, she never acknowledged the fact that I might have felt hurt. I'm not really one to talk about my feelings too much, but right now, everything hurts. I feel like I don't have anyone to share this with because the one person I would normally speak to about almost everything is not even acknowledging my existence despite staying under the same roof. I feel helpless, and I feel like a total jerk because of the whole inheritance thing. But then I also feel like I should stand my ground. It's just very confusing, and I'm really sorry that I'm rambling on about this, but I need help. I need unbiased people to tell me if I'm wrong or not.